Hey, Don here. I'm driving home and I thought of something I wanted to share. It's kind of a life lesson. So stick with me and I'll get into it.
Oh, yeah! Welcome to the show!
All right, so everybody has to deal with some kind of an issue in their life. It doesn't matter. Right now, I'm going through a couple cases where I'm fighting with insurance companies about stuff. But you can kind of tell if you're in a situation or if you're talking to somebody on the phone or you're getting an email or something's happening when it's going to actually be an issue and you know it's going to be a pain to deal with. Here's the number one thing to remember and keep in mind if you notice that this is happening is grab a pen and a piece of paper and start documenting everything. First thing you do, write the date, write the time, and write down what you're doing, okay? And what you're saying and what people are telling you. I just had to do that and luckily I had a text stream that I could go back to that was dated and timed. I've also had, it's a medical procedure that has to be done, so I've got with my doctor an actual portal with a messaging system, and my insurance has one as well, so I could go back on all of those. And I started typing just in a Word document of everything, the timeline of what happened with this thing, because it has grown into a massive deal. But I put the date, the time, and what was said, and I actually copied and pasted what was said in messages and quoted that. And if you do this, and if it ever escalates into something that's so big that maybe you have to call a lawyer on, guess what they love? They love to have documented timelines and all the details of what people said, and especially and that's why a lot of people don't like to actually talk on the phone anymore. I still like to talk on the phone. I'm an old guy because I grew up that way. I can converse with somebody easier and kind of feel by their emotions and tell what's going on by talking to them. But it's probably better to start a text thread or a message thread or maybe an email and communicate that way, because now you've got documented what people are saying and telling you, and you can always compile that and put that in and just start writing it all down. Get a book. When I was younger, I used to have just a scrap notebook in my desk drawer, and if something happened, guess what? I'd pull it out, write the date, the time, and start writing down what was going on. And then anytime I had any kind of communication or interaction because of this issue, I would get that out and keep writing. Because people will tell you something, and I'll give you an example. This insurance person promised they would call me back at a certain time on a certain day to get a piece of information they needed that I needed to get from my doctor. And I had gotten the information. I did my part, but they never called back. I gave them a few days. They never called back. And this turned into one thing after the other. And I've had to explain my story to multiple people through either a couple phone calls that I tried and even messaging. And I'm just getting tired of it. So I'm documenting everything. I've got 6 pages of a detailed timeline. So if these guys end up not covering, which is supposed to be a standard thing getting covered, if they want to decline coverage on this, I can go and lodge a complaint with the state insurance commission. And guess what they love to see? A documented timeline of what happened and what I was told. You got to think like a lawyer. If you had to go present this case, if somebody's taken advantage of you, if you have to present this case in a court of law, what evidence and what information would be paramount to that case on your behalf? And this is where, if you start talking to people that are helping you, get them to write stuff down, or at least, you know, email it to you so you can document everything that's going on. And I'm telling you, even if you don't use it, I was so upset when I started this timeline today, but I actually was less upset and I calmed down, and it helped because now I've got detailed documentation of what is going on with this particular issue. And if I have to go as far as consulting a lawyer or lodging a complaint, guess what? I got the detailed evidence right there, and anything else that you can grab, any documentation, anything on your behalf that tells your story and backs up what you're saying. It's great information to have, and you'll feel better about what's going on just because you're doing that. So take my advice, start writing it down as soon as you realize there's an issue, and you'll feel better about yourself. Okay, that's not a music thing, but it is a life thing, and I wanted to share it with you guys because in business and in life, I've used that a handful of times, and I've never had to go as far as use it with a lawyer because I've always said, hey, I'm documenting this whole thing, so if I need to go to a lawyer, I've got all the documentation and evidence I need. And generally, you can get things resolved because most people, they're not as organized as that. Be organized. Do this, and I think you'll be glad you did one day. And if for no other reason, it'll make you feel better. All right, that's all I got. I know it's a short video, but I just wanted to share that because that's something I went through today. I lost almost a full day at work dealing with this and documenting what I needed to do, but I feel way better about it now. So I can go home and maybe get a good night's sleep because of this situation that's going on. Thanks for watching. We'll see you guys next time.